when I came home and found my parents had let themselves into my new house. I'm Olivia, 26 years old, when I finally got the keys to my own place, a modest 3-bedroom ranch house on the outskirts of Cedar Falls, about 35 minutes from my childhood home. The paint was chipped, the carpet needed replacing, and the kitchen cabinet stuck when you open them. But none of that mattered. It was mine. Well, technically the bank owned most of it, but I'd been saving since I was 21, working double shifts at the hospital where I'm a nurse, picking up weekend hours, skipping vacations. My savings account had one purpose: escape. You're really doing this? My cousin Jenna asked me over lunch the week before closing. She was the only family member who understood. Your mom's been calling my mom nonstop, trying to get her to talk sense into you. Of course she has. I stabbed at my salad. Carol doesn't believe in personal space. Never has. She keeps saying you're too young. That you should wait. That the market's bad right now. Jenna rolled her eyes. The usual. I've heard every excuse. I put my fork down, but I can't keep living there. Yen, am suffocating. Every decision I make, every place I go, every person I see. She needs to know about it, approve it, comment on it. I know. Jenna reached across the table. I'm really happy for you, Liv. Moving day came on a Saturday in October. My boyfriend Maxwell showed up at 7 o'clock in the morning with his pickup truck and 2 of his coworkers from a construction company. Where do you want the couch? He asked, maneuvering through my front door. Against the far wall. I called from the kitchen where I was unpacking dishes. And seriously, thank you. I couldn't have done this without you. Are you kidding? I've been waiting for this day since we started dating. He grinned at me. No more dates on your parents' couch with your mom checking in every 10 minutes to ask if we want snacks. I groaned. Please don't remind me of that. The first 3 weeks were everything I dreamed of. I painted the guest room a soft gray. I stayed up until 2 o'clock in the morning watching movies without anyone asking why I wasn't in bed. I ate cereal for dinner. I left dishes in the sink overnight. Small freedoms that felt enormous. Then came that Wednesday evening. I'd pulled a 12-hour shift at the hospital, stopped at the grocery store for milk and bread, and pulled into my driveway around 10 o'clock. The house was dark, exactly how I'd left it that morning. I balanced my grocery bags on one hip, unlocked the deadbolt, and pushed open the door. Every light in the living room was on. I froze. The grocery bag slipped from my hands, milk carton rolling across the hardwood. My mother sat in my armchair that I'd bought at a thrift store, and reupholstered myself, reading one of my magazines. My father stood by the window, arms crossed, looking at the photos I'd hung on the wall. Hi, honey, my mother said brightly. You're home late. My throat closed. What are you doing here? We wanted to visit. She set down the magazine. See how you're settling in. How did you get in? My voice came out barely above a whisper. We have keys, obviously. She said it like it was the most natural thing in the world. I didn't give you keys. My father turned from the window. When you went to Ace Hardware last week to get copies made, we called ahead. Told them we were your parents and that you'd asked us to pick up an extra set. The room tilted. You did what? Don't use that tone with me. My mother snapped. We're your parents. We have every right to make sure you're safe. A right. I couldn't breathe. This is my house. Actually, honey, the bank owns most of it. My father said quietly. Something inside me cracked. Get out. My hands were shaking. Get out of my house right now. My mother stood up slowly, and I saw that familiar look cross her face. The one that meant I was about to get a lecture. Olivia Marie, we drove 35 minutes to. I don't care if you drove from California. Get out. We just trying to help. She gestured around the living room. And it's a good thing we came. Your bathroom is filthy. There are dishes piled in the sink. And when's the last time you vacuumed? You went through my entire house. My voice cracked. How else would we know if you're taking care of things properly? She smoothed her shirt. You've never lived alone before, Olivia. We needed to make sure you weren't letting the place fall apart. My father shifted uncomfortably. Your mother's right. We just worried about you. Then worry from your own house. I pointed at the door. Leave now. They exchanged a look. My mother picked up her purse with deliberate slowness, making sure I understood she was choosing to leave, not being forced out. At the door, she turned back. You're being dramatic, sweetie. We'll come back when you've calmed down, and we can discuss this like adults. The moment the door closed behind them, I locked it and slid down to the floor, my whole body shaking. I pulled out my phone and called Maxwell. Hey babe. I could hear traffic in the background. What's up? They were here. I could barely get the words out. My parents were inside my house when I got home. Wait, what? How? They tricked the hardware store. Got copies of my keys. Tears were streaming down my face. Now Maxwell, they just let themselves in. They went through everything. I'm turning around right now. I'll be there in 20 minutes. You don't have to live. I'm already on my way. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about them being here, touching my things, judging my choices, invading the one space that was supposed to be mine. How long had they been here? What had they looked through? The thought made my skin crawl, and something else nagged at me. The way my mother had mentioned the bathroom, the kitchen, the living room, the specific details she'd noticed. How would she know all that from one visit? You need to talk to your neighbors, Jenna said the next morning. She'd driven over as soon as I called her. If they've been coming here regularly, someone's seen them. I don't even know my neighbors yet. Well, now's the time to introduce yourself. She poured us both more coffee. Start with the houses closest to yours. I knocked on Mrs. Henderson's door first. She was maybe 70 with silver hair and warm brown eyes. Oh, you must be the young lady who bought the Johnson place, she said. Come in, dear. Actually, I just have a quick question. My stomach was in knots. Have you noticed anyone at my house when I'm not there? Her smile faded. Oh honey. Yes, an older couple. They've been coming by quite a bit. The coffee I drunk threatened to come back up. How often? 3, maybe 4 times a week. She looked worried now. I thought they were family helping you move in. Are they not? They're my parents. My voice sounded hollow. And they definitely don't have permission to be there. Oh my. Mrs. Henderson's hand went to her chest. Should I have called someone? You didn't know. But if you see them again, would you mind letting me know? Of course, dear. And she hesitated. Should I call the police if they show up? Let me figure out what to do first, I said. But thank you. I crossed the street to the house with the blue shutters. A man about my age answered, holding a coffee mug with world's okayest engineer printed on it. Olivia. I just moved in across the street. Yeah, I know. He leaned against the doorframe. I'm Brandon. You're the one with the parents who practically live here, right? My chest tightened. You've seen them. Hard to miss. They're here all the time. Park right in your driveway like they own the place. He took a sip of coffee. Honestly, I assumed you all lived together and just kept weird schedules. How often? I managed to ask. Brandon thought for a moment. For 5 days a week maybe. Sometimes I see them pull up right after you leave for work, and they're still there when I get home in the evening. I work from home so I notice things. 5 days a week. 5 days. Have you noticed anything else? Your mom goes through your mail. He said it so casually. I've seen her sitting on your porch opening envelopes. I called my friend Amy as soon as I got back inside. Amy's a paralegal at a family law firm downtown. If anyone would know what to do, it would be her. Amy, I need help. The words tumbled out. Legal help. What's going on? Her voice shifted from friendly to professional immediately. I told her everything. The unauthorized keys, the repeated entries, what the neighbors had seen, my mail being opened. Liv, that's trespassing, Amy said. And the key situation, that's fraud. They obtained those keys through deception and misrepresentation. Can I actually do anything about it? They're my parents. That doesn't matter. This isn't a family squabble. This is criminal behavior. I heard paper rustling. Here's what you need to do. Document everything. Get written statements from your neighbors if they're willing. Change your locks today. Don't wait. And I'm going to have my boss draft a cease and desist letter. If they show up after receiving that letter, you call the police. No hesitation. Will the police actually care? With documentation, witness statements, and a pattern of behavior, absolutely. Amy's voice was firm. I know they're your parents, but what they're doing is illegal. Maxwell came over after work with a new lock set. I'm installing this right now, he said, pulling tools from his truck. And we're getting you a video doorbell this weekend. While he worked on the locks, I sat at my kitchen table drafting a timeline. Every instance I could remember of my mother showing up unannounced at my old apartment. Every boundary I tried to set that she'd ignored. Every time she'd gone through my phone, my mail, my room, the pattern had always been there. I just never had the distance to see it clearly. Live. Maxwell called from the front door. Come test this. The new lock was solid, much better than the builder-grade one that had been there. Thank you, I said, wrapping my arms around him. We are also getting a deadbolt for the back door, he said. And I'm going to install motion sensor lights around the perimeter. If anyone comes near this house, you'll know. That evening, I went back to Mrs. Henderson's house with a notepad. Would you be willing to write down what you've seen? I asked, dates, times, anything you remember. Of course, dear. She invited me in, and we sat at her kitchen table while she wrote out everything she could recall. I have one of those little desk calendars, she said. I mark down when I see unusual things in the neighborhood. Let me get it. She came back with a spiral-bound calendar covered in notes. Here, October 12th. Saw your parents arrive at 8:15 a.m. You'd left for work about 10 minutes earlier. They stayed until 2:30 p.m. She flipped through more pages. October 15th. They were there from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. October 18th. The list went on. Pages and pages of documentation. Mrs. Henderson, this is incredible. I like to keep track of the neighborhood. She said, after my husband died, I started paying more attention to what goes on around here. Makes me feel safer knowing who's coming and going. Brandon was less enthusiastic about writing a statement, but he agreed. I've got a Ring camera, he mentioned. It catches your driveway sometimes when cars pull in. Want me to check the footage? You do that. He shrugged. Sure. Might take me a few days to go through it all, but if it helps. By Friday, I had written statements from 3 neighbors, Ring camera footage showing my parents' car in my driveway at various times over the past 3 weeks. And Amy had finished drafting the cease and desist letter. This is pretty airtight, Amy said, reviewing everything I'd gathered. Your parents obtained keys through fraudulent means. Use those keys to repeatedly enter your property without permission, and there's documented evidence of them going through your mail, which, by the way, is a federal offense. What happens now? We send this letter via certified mail. They have to sign for it. So there's proof they received it. The letter clearly states they not to come to your property, contact you, or attempt to enter your home. If they violate any part of that, you call the police immediately. And if they just ignore it, then they're knowingly violating a legal order, which makes everything much easier for law enforcement. The letter went out Monday morning. By Wednesday afternoon, I was starting to think maybe, just maybe, they'd actually respect it. Then Saturday came. I was in the kitchen making lunch when I heard car doors slam in my driveway. My stomach dropped. Through the window, I saw my parents walking toward my front door. Don't answer it, Maxwell said. He'd been helping me install shelves in the garage. I have to end this. Live. But I was already walking to the door. I opened it but stood in the doorway blocking their entry. We need to talk, my mother said. Her voice had that sharp edge I knew too well. No, we don't. My father held up the letter, his hand shaking slightly. You sent us this. Your own parents. You broke into my house multiple times. What did you expect? We didn't break in, my mother said, her voice rising. We had keys. Keys you got by lying to the hardware store. That's fraud, Mom. Fraud. My mother laughed, but there was no humor in it. We're your parents, Olivia. We raised you. We paid for your nursing school. We gave you everything. And that gives you the right to invade my privacy, to go through my things, to enter my home whenever you want. We were worried about you, she said. And I almost believed the tears that started forming. Almost. You've never lived alone. We needed to make sure you were managing. By reading my mail, by going through my bedroom, I felt my anger building. Mrs. Henderson told me she saw you in my bedroom. Mom, my bedroom. My father stepped forward. Olivia, you're being ridiculous. We are family. No. The word came out harder than I intended. Family respects boundaries. You've spent my entire life stomping all over every boundary I've tried to set. And I'm done. Done. My mother's tears vanished instantly. You're done with us. I'm done letting you control my life. We're not controlling you. Her tone shifted to that pleading voice she used when she wanted something. We just love you, honey. Is that really so terrible? Love doesn't involve deception and breaking the law. Breaking the law. My father scoffed. Listen to yourself. We your parents, not criminals. You committed fraud to get those keys, I said slowly. You entered my property repeatedly without permission. You opened my mail, which is a federal crime. So yeah, Dad, you are criminals. We are sorry, my mother said suddenly. Okay, we are sorry. We went too far. We'll give you some space. Just please don't shut us out completely. I'd heard these words before. Different situations. Same script. I don't believe you. Olivia, please. How many times? Mom. I looked her straight in the eye. How many times have you apologized? How many times have you promised to respect my privacy, my choices, my space? And how many times have you broken those promises? My mother's expression hardened. You ungrateful. Carol, my father warned. No. She was yelling now. After everything we've sacrificed for her, everything we've given up. We gave her life. We gave her everything. And this is how she repays us. By wanting to live my own life. I kept my voice level. By wanting basic privacy. You're making a terrible mistake. My mother hissed. You need us. You'll lose this house within 6 months without our help. Get off my property. We are not going anywhere. My father said, and he took a step toward me. Not until you see reason. Dad, back up. Or what? He moved closer. You'll call the police on your own, father. I pulled out my phone. You wouldn't dare, my mother said. But I heard uncertainty in her voice. I started dialing 911. My father grabbed my wrist. Don't you dare, my father said, squeezing my wrist hard enough to make me gasp. Put the phone away. Let go of me. I tried to pull free, but his grip tightened. Not until you delete that ridiculous letter, he said. His face was inches from mine. Take it back. Apologize, Dad. You're hurting me. Frank, stop. My mother said, but she didn't move to help. She just stood there watching. Let go of her now. Maxwell's voice cut through everything. He was standing in the doorway behind me, phone already in his hand. My father released my wrist and stumbled backward. Who the hell do you think you are? I'm the person who just watched you assault her, Maxwell said, his voice deadly calm. And I'm calling the police. This is family business, my mother snapped. This is assault and battery, Maxwell said, already dialing. This is criminal trespassing. This is harassment. We are her parents, my father started. You're criminals, Maxwell said flatly. Yes. Hello. I need to report an assault in progress. My father lunged at Maxwell. I screamed. Maxwell sidestepped, and my father crashed into the door frame, but he recovered quickly, swinging wildly. Maxwell blocked, trying not to fight back. Just deflect. My mother grabbed my arm, her nails digging in. Stop this, she shrieked. Call him off. I yanked free, and that's when she slapped me. The crack echoed in my ears. My cheek exploded with pain. I tasted blood. I'd bitten my lip. Maxwell had my father on the ground now, holding him there with one knee on his back. Stay down, he said to me. Are you okay? I touched my face. My fingers came away bloody. I asked if you're okay. Live. She hit me. I said stupidly. My mother hit me. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. My mother's face had gone white. I didn't mean you were being hysterical. Get away from me. 2 police cruisers pulled into my driveway. 4 officers got out, hands on their belts. Who called this in? The first officer, her name tag said Rodriguez, asked. I did, Maxwell said, still holding my father down. This man assaulted his daughter when she tried to call 911. His wife struck her in the face. It's all ongoing. Officer Rodriguez looked at me. Can you confirm that? I nodded, touching my split lip again. My parents showed up after receiving a cease and desist letter. They refused to leave. When I tried to call the police, my father grabbed my wrist and wouldn't let go. My boyfriend intervened and my father attacked him. My mother hit me when I tried to stop them. That's not what happened. My mother protested. She's lying. We are her parents. She's trying to destroy our family. I can see the marks on her wrist, Officer Rodriguez said calmly. And her lip is bleeding. I'm going to need everyone to calm down while we sort this out. We have documentation, Maxwell said, carefully releasing my father, but staying close. There's a cease and desist letter they received 3 days ago. We have neighbor statements about ongoing trespassing. We have ring camera footage of them coming here repeatedly without permission. Officer Rodriguez's partner was already talking into his radio. Another officer was photographing my wrist, which had started to bruise. The fourth officer stood between my parents and me. We have evidence of ongoing criminal trespassing spanning 3 weeks, Maxwell continued, pulling up his phone. Neighbor testimony with dates and times, documentation that they obtained keys to this property through fraud. Officer Rodriguez reviewed the photos on Maxwell's phone, then looked at the marks on my wrist, then at my face. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, my father muttered. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, I'm placing you both under arrest. She moved toward them with handcuffs. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. My mother started crying. Olivia, please. This is a misunderstanding. We didn't mean any of this. Tell them we're your parents. Tell them to let us go. I touched my bloody lip again. No, esweti. Please. We love you so much. You did this to yourselves. They were loaded into separate cruisers. As the cars pulled away, I watched the taillights disappear down my street. My legs gave out, and I sat down hard on my front steps. Maxwell sat beside me, wrapping his arm around my shoulders. It's over, he said quietly. But I knew it wasn't. Not yet. Officer Rodriguez came back inside with me to take my full statement. We sat at my kitchen table, the table I'd bought at a yard sale, and refinished myself. And I told her everything, the keys, the trespassing, the mail, all of it. You'll need to decide about pressing charges, she said gently. All of them. My voice didn't waver. The assault, the trespassing, the fraud with the locksmith, everything. The district attorney will handle the fraud investigation separately, she explained. But with your documentation and witness statements, you have an exceptionally strong case. I'm also going to recommend you file for a restraining order first thing Monday morning. How fast can that happen? Emergency order can be in place by Monday afternoon if you file in the morning. Full order will require hearing, but given what happened today, I don't anticipate any issues. After she left, Maxwell drove me to urgent care. The doctor, a tired-looking woman in her 50s, examined my wrist and lip. The wrist will bruise pretty significantly over the next few days, she said. Ice it regularly. The lip will heal on its own, but keep it clean. I'm also going to document these injuries for your records. For the police report and for court, if it comes to that, she looked at me over her glasses. You did the right thing calling the police. I hope you know that. I wasn't sure I knew anything anymore. Jenna came over that night with takeout and ice cream. I would have been here sooner, but I was working, she said, pulling me into a hug. Liv, I'm so sorry. They hit me, I said, and saying it out loud made it real in a way it hadn't been before. My own parents hit me. I know, honey. I know. We sat on my couch, in my house, my space, and she just let me talk about the years of boundary violations, the constant intrusions, the way my mother had monitored everything from my clothes to my friends to my college major, the way my father had enabled all of it. I keep thinking maybe I overreacted, I admitted. Maybe I should have just let them have keys. Maybe. Stop, Jenna said firmly. What they did was not okay. None of it. Not the keys, not the trespassing, not the mail, and definitely not the assault. You set a boundary and they couldn't handle it. That's on them, not you. Sunday morning, Amy called. I heard what happened. How are you doing? I've been better. I'm filing the restraining order paperwork tomorrow morning. Can you meet me at the courthouse at 9 o'clock? I'll be there. Good. And Liv, you're going to get through this. I promise. Monday morning, I stood in front of a judge, and explained why I needed an emergency restraining order against my parents. The judge, an older man with kind eyes, listened without interrupting. When I finished, he signed the order without hesitation. This order mandates that your parents stay at least 500 feet from you, your home, and your workplace. He said violation of this order is a criminal offense. A hearing for a permanent order will be scheduled within 2 weeks. 500 feet. It felt both like too much and not enough. The next 2 weeks were strange. I kept expecting them to show up to call to find some loophole, but there was nothing. Silence. Then my mother left a voicemail. Olivia, sweetheart, please call me back. Your father and I have been meeting with a therapist. We understand now that we crossed some lines. We want to make this right. Her voice cracked. We love you so much and we forgive you for pressing charges. Please just talk to us. I deleted it. She called Maxwell next. He put it on speaker so I could hear. Is she okay? My mother asked. Is she eating? Is she sleeping? She's fine, Maxwell said shortly. We've changed. We getting help. We just want our daughter back. That's not my decision to make, Maxwell said and hung up. She won't forgive them, will she? He asked me. No, they said they've changed. They've had 26 years to change. I stared at the phone. They only care now because they're facing actual consequences. The permanent restraining order hearing came 2 weeks later. My parents showed up with a lawyer, some slick guy in an expensive suit, who tried to argue this was all a family misunderstanding. Amy presented our evidence methodically, the neighbor statements, the ring footage, the cease and desist letter, photos of my injuries, the police report. The judge didn't even deliberate. Restraining order approved. 500-foot minimum distance for 5 years, renewable upon request. My parents took a plea deal on the assault charges, no contest, probation, mandatory anger management classes, and 200 hours of community service each. The fraud investigation took longer, but eventually they were fined and given additional probation. 3 months later, a letter arrived, not from them directly, but through their lawyer. Our clients wish to express their remorse for their actions. They understand they violated your boundaries and your trust. They are committed to respecting your space and decisions moving forward. If and when you are ready to consider rebuilding a relationship, they hope you will reach out. I filed it with all the other legal documents. Not because I thought I'd need it, just because it was evidence. Proof that I'd finally drawn a line and held it. Maxwell found me that evening sitting on my back porch watching the sun set over my little yard. What are you thinking about? He asked, settling into the chair beside me. How quiet it is. I took a deep breath. How peaceful. Any regrets? Not one. I looked at him. Is that terrible that I don't feel guilty? No, he said firmly. It's healthy. They're still my parents. And you're still allowed to protect yourself from people who hurt you, even if they're family. We sat in comfortable silence as the sky turned orange, then pink, then purple. My phone buzzed. Jenna texting to check in. Mrs. Henderson had left cookies on my doorstep earlier. Brandon had waved at me that morning while getting his mail. I had built something here, not just a house, but a life. One where I made the decisions, where I controlled who had access to my space, my time, my energy. I'm going to put the house on the market, my mother had said during one of her supervised phone calls as part of her plea agreement. Without you here, it doesn't feel like home anymore. I'd almost felt sorry for her, almost. But then I remembered all the years I'd spent feeling like I couldn't breathe in that house. All the privacy violations, all the boundaries ignored, all the times I'd asked for space and been told I was being dramatic. That's your choice to make, I'd said and ended the call. 6 months after that night, Maxwell proposed. We were in this same spot on this same porch watching another sunset. I love you, he said. And I love who you've become since you moved here. Stronger, more sure of yourself. I love you too, so marry me. He pulled out a ring. Build a life with me in this house or another one. Whatever you want. I said yes. We didn't invite my parents to the wedding. That decision was easier than I thought it would be. Jenna walked me down the aisle. Mrs. Henderson came and cried happy tears. Brandon showed up with his girlfriend and gave us an expensive blender. Amy gave a toast about how proud she was of me for standing up for myself. And I realized something during that reception. surrounded by people who actually respected my boundaries and my choices. I didn't miss my parents at all. What I'd missed was the idea of parents I'd never actually had. The supportive, respectful, loving parents I'd always wished for. But the people who raised me, the ones who couldn't see me as anything other than an extension of themselves to control. I didn't need them in my life to be happy. Maxwell and I bought a bigger house a year later. One with enough room for the family we were planning. We didn't tell my parents we were moving. They found out eventually. Small town gossip travels fast, and sent another letter through their lawyer. I never opened it. Sometimes people ask me if I regret pressing charges against my own parents, if I wish I'd handled things differently, if I think about reconciling. And the answer is always the same. No, because here's what I learned from all of this. You don't owe anyone access to your life. Not even family. Especially not family who refuse to respect your autonomy, your privacy, your basic human right to exist as your own person. I spent 26 years trying to make my parents understand that I was a separate person with separate needs and separate boundaries. And they spent 26 years proving they didn't care. So I built a life without them. A good life. A peaceful life. A life where I decide who gets to be part of it. Done.